Today I want to give you a first look at the BIOSTAR B660 GTN, which is part of BIOSTAR's racing line of motherboards. So this is their mid-range tier, and as well as the mini ITX motherboard that I've got here, they've also released a micro ATX and full-sized ATX motherboard for the B660 chipset. The motherboard features Intel's latest LGA 1700 socket for their 12th gen CPUs. Let's go ahead and get the motherboard unboxed and take a closer look at it. As well as the motherboard in the box, we've got a quick installation guide, a DVD with all our drivers on it, we've got 4 SATA cables, we've got our Wi-Fi antenna and a guide to installing them. Working our way along the bottom of the motherboard from left to right, first of all we've got a HD audio header. Just above that we've got the motherboard's one and only system fan header. Then we've got a USB 2.0 header. While at the bottom right hand side of the motherboard we've got our clear CMOS header. Working up the right hand side of the motherboard we've got our front panel connectors and stereo speaker headers. Then we've got a USB 3.2 Gen 1 header. We've got 4 SATA ports, our 24-pin connector, and then we've got our debug LEDs. At the top of the motherboard we've got our CPU fan header and CPU opt header. We've got a 3-pin 5V ARGB connector and a 4-pin 12V RGB connector. And then we've got a single 8-pin EPS power connector. We've got 2 separate heatsinks over the VRM. In the centre of the motherboard we've got our LGA 1700 socket and standard mounting holes. The motherboard features 2 DDR4 slots which will accommodate up to a maximum of 64GB of RAM at 4500 MHz overclocked. At the bottom of the motherboard we've got a single PCIe Gen 5x16 slot with iron protection. The motherboard features 2 Gen 4x4 M.2 SSD slots. There's one behind the heatsink on the front of the motherboard and another slot on the rear of the motherboard. The slot on the rear also supports SATA drives. Just to the left of our front M.2 socket we've got an M.2 E-key socket for a Bluetooth and Wi-Fi module. While the module doesn't come with the motherboard, the required antennas are included. It's good to see the motherboard features an integrated I/O shield. Taking a look at our rear I/O, we've got a DisplayPort 1.2 and a HDMI port 1.4. Then we've got 2 USB 2.0 headers and a PS2 port. We've then got 4 USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports. We've got a 2.5 gigabit LAN port. We've got 3 audio jacks, and then we've got the cutouts for our Wi-Fi antenna. It's good to see by default BIOSTAR have left these cutouts covered, so if you're not going to use them it's going to look much better. And if you want to use the Wi-Fi antenna, you simply break these out. As the motherboard's just been released, I don't have any pricing information on it just yet, but I would expect it to be in the mid-price range and significantly cheaper than the current Z690 ITX motherboards. My first impressions of the motherboard are all fairly good. It is marketed as a mid-range motherboard, having most of the essential features, but missing out on a few of the premium features. For me, the main things missing were Type-C connectors, both internally and on the rear I/O. While BIOSTAR have tried to keep the price down by not including Bluetooth and Wi-Fi as standard, it's good to see that they give you the option to add it in. In terms of aesthetics, I think it's a great looking motherboard. The only thing I wasn't so keen on was the red and black battery cable, which if you're looking at the motherboard at a certain angle is visible. One advantage this motherboard offers compared to some of the more premium Z690 motherboards is that you're going to be able to fit a large air cooler on it without any difficulty. This area here where the M.2 SSD slots are is not particularly built up like it is in a lot of the Z690 ITX motherboards, and that built up area just prevents you installing a premium air cooler. I have already sized this motherboard up and I was able to fit BQAT's Dark Rock Pro 4 without any difficulty. So I've already got a couple of builds lined up for the motherboard, so if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button to be notified about when I make those videos. Thanks for watching.